week in review. Rough week. I know the lyrics to this. Weird. California Angels. Here we go. What is up? It is your boy Johnny Mags alongside with
Daniel Garcia.
And this is another edition of the All Angels podcast for the week of September 21st, 2017. Before we get started, just quickly want to just plug the podcast on, you guys can catch us on YouTube Live. If you guys are watching us on YouTube Live, what's up? You guys can catch us on iTunes, Google Play, and if you have any questions for the show, go ahead and email us at allangelspodcast@gmail.com. That's allangelspodcast@gmail.com. You can send us your questions, your comments on there, or you can just hit us up on at Halo Haven, on Instagram and Twitter, I believe, right?
Yep,
Twitter.
Halo_Haven, yep.
Yep, that's it. So, week in review, guys. We just got swept by the Cleveland Indians, but before that, we had another series where, what were we? Dan, you got the numbers in front of you?
Yeah, for the week since our last podcast, 2-5, and then after today, they finished the 9-game homestand 3-6.
3-6 in the 9-game homestand. We talked about it, I think 2 weeks ago, that the Angels were going to have to go in a 6-week period, or in a 6-game period where we, in between our podcasts, they'd have to go 5-1 or 4-2.
Yeah.
This isn't going to get it done. We're 2 games back.
2.5.
2.5 games back.
Minnesota just finished their game and they beat Detroit.
And I think I texted you guys about it. I said, when the Twins were losing, we were losing too. We had to go ahead and play the Cleveland Indians, right? So, when it's not one thing, it's another. And I guess you pretty much summed it all up just a second ago before we went on air. We're a 500 team.
Yeah.
Just
yeah.
Literally 500 team. We're middle of the pack. It's starting to show. What I take from this series against the Cleveland Indians is the Indians totally exposed really who we are. We had a great run there in August. The Angels just couldn't sustain it heading into September when we really needed to make another push. It just seems like, there's a couple weeks left in the season. You never know. I don't want to count us completely out, but these last few games kind of left me, I'm on the fence right now. I don't know what to think.
Yeah, like you were talking about earlier, and this even goes back to, the beginning of the year, and we kind of just threw away the question. Even before the All-Star break, I always say, I always felt the Angels, because of the injuries, because of everything that was popping up, that they were going to be a 500 team, regardless of where that put them in the playoff race. Now, they've been lucky with the other teams like the Minnesota, the Seattles, the Texas. They are super mediocre as well. So luckily we're not in the NL. Because if the Angels were in the NL, it'd be a totally different story. We wouldn't even be talking about a playoff opportunity. We'd be talking about what's going on next year. So, part of it's better to be lucky than good. Angels are average team. You look up some of the stats. They are in the middle of the American League in almost a lot of the major stats. So, the Angels are what they are, and they kind of showed it this week when they played against a really hot, really good Cleveland team where a lot of people are picking them to go back to the World Series. This is a World Series caliber team, and the Angels went 0-3. So, and then you go with Houston, again, another team that people are picking to go to the ALCS, and they went 1-3. So, it's great when you beat the Seattles, it's great when you beat the Oaklands, it's great when you beat those type of teams, and we'll see in the coming week how they do at Chicago. But you're going to be measured by how you do against the good teams, and it showed this week what a good team can do against the Angels.
Yeah, and one thing that I took away from this homestand was the offense was kind of staggering there. We got stifled a bit by a few starting pitchers on the opposite end. I don't think our pitching was all that terrible. There was a few games here and there where you're like, oh, but our offense just kind of didn't show up. I don't have numbers in front of me, but it seems like it didn't click when we needed them to click. We didn't come through with the clutch hit like we were in August.
Yeah, it seems like that's the biggest thing, because if you look at the games in total, especially against the Cleveland, because everyone wanted to see how they would do against Cleveland. Even the loss against Texas on Sunday, it was a 4-2 or 2-4 game, so you got 2 runs there. 3-6 against Cleveland, 3 runs, and then the 1-run game last night on Wednesday. So I mean, and then today was a close game as well. So it wasn't like they were getting smoked, but kind of like you said, like Trout's going on a little slump. You know, all these players that were Hoffer, Anderson, Simmons is going on a little slump. All these guys that we were depending on earlier in the year are now slumping at the worst possible time, where you have the Indians. One of their team MVPs could be Lindor. Huge home run last night. Huge home run today. So their MVP caliber players are showing up when the Angels MVP caliber players aren't. So I mean, that just kind of shows where they are, how hot they are, and how cold the Angels have been.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people were talking about this on social media, especially on the Halo Haven page and whatnot. But a lot of people are saying, well, I hate to lose, and yeah, every game counts. I think now that I'm looking back at the season, if we would have had a guy like Garrett Richards the whole year and a guy like Heaney the whole year, a guy like Skaggs the whole year, there's obviously games that we would have won that you never know. We could have been where the Yankees are right now. I don't think we would have been a wild or a Western Division championship.
No, I don't think we'll be.
No.
Right now, the Angels are 18 games back. I don't think we would have made 18 games worth difference. But would it have made 5 or 6 game difference?
Right.
Absolutely.
And we'd be right where the Yankees are right now with a little bit of cushion on the rest of the guys, the rest of the teams in the league. So that's what we have to look forward to for next season. Hopefully we get these guys healthy. You never know who they're going to acquire, who they're going to sign as a free agent. We'll get to that when we hit that road. But I guess a bright spot for me, and I don't know about you, Daniel, is Justin Upton. We were talking about this in a poll question.
Right.
The guy's doing what he needs to do. He's doing what he was brought here to do. The other day, he hit a home run that landed in the bucket and
well, it was on the bounce. So
on the bounce,
technicality.
Not on the fly.
And if you ever been to a Inland Empire 66er game, they have that truck that's in the.
They're gonna put it through the window.
Yeah, left center field. The window's probably 3 feet by 2 feet, and it has to make it on a perfect straight
on the fly.
through, no ricochets.
Yeah.
So for Sherman Williams that want to give $1 million, you're pretty sure there had some stipulations.
Right.
For that.
But Upton, to me, has been putting good swings on the ball. Even when he just misses one, when he fouls one back, you're like, oh, he's on it. And
right.
It seems to me like he's smoking everything. And even when he doesn't smoke it, it seems to find a hole. We raised the question, is it too early to tell whether the acquisition of Upton and Phillips was good or bad or whatever? To me, if he continues to do this, I want him to opt into that contract.
Right.
It is a lot of money. $22 million per year. That's a really sweet deal. And like I said, he's having a great year, but I don't know what the market is for a left fielder right now, and which teams would actually pay that much money. So I think the Angels kind of are hoping that he maybe.
I have a feeling he'll opt in because just the market. Because defensively, he's not. I mean, he's a good defensive outfielder. Don't get me wrong.
Better than most.
Yeah, but he's not a spectacular. Covers a lot of ground. No. The speed's not.
Not even an arm. Not even a great arm.
Right. So. If you're just looking straight at his power numbers through the year, they are good. Like, don't get me wrong, they're good. But with the influx of home runs this season, and if you don't know, on Tuesday night, with about 2 weeks left in the season, the MLB record for total home runs in a year was set. So you're talking about home runs being huge all the way across the board. So the demand for a power hitting left fielder might not be as big as some people think. So yeah, I can see him definitely opting in. And that would solidify the left field position. So you would go into hopefully spring training with Upton, Trout, and Calhoun. But getting back to what you're saying, his recent hot streak, last 8 games. So that's pretty much the Houston series, or 9 games. The Houston series all the way down to today. Today he went 0 for 4, so nothing there. But before that, 4 home runs, 5 RBIs. Was batting .308, so that average is probably going to be down a little bit in the high 200s after today's 0 for 4. But yeah. Getting comfortable, able to put the ball in play, able to hit the ball over the fence.
Yeah, and that's what he was brought here to do. And unfortunately, we're playing two tough teams, and we were hoping for the best, and obviously it didn't work out for us there. But now switching over to the pitching side, starting pitching, we've been getting more innings at least.
Yeah,
we were getting 3 2/3, 3 1/3 of an inning. A couple of weeks ago, but for me, the last two starts by Ricky Nolasco have not been bad.
No.
I know a lot of people like to rag on Ricky Nolasco for giving up the gopher ball and giving up home runs, but the last two games, Ricky has really produced. I think he's pitched more than 5 innings in both games, and I think in one he went into the 7th. I don't think he's given up more than 2 or 3 runs in those 2 games.
Yeah, the last 2 games, 11 innings pitched, so a 5 and a 6 inning.
Okay.
3.27 ERA, 5 strikeouts, 4 walks. But getting back to what you're saying, no home runs in the last 2 games. I mean, again, it's 2 games, super small sample. He can go out the next outing and give up 3 home runs. We don't know.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is, kind of what we were saying last week, he's your 5th starter. I mean, if you can get that kind of production out of a 5th starter, then that's fine. That's what you're looking for. There's nothing more than that. He's going to be your 5th starter. If he's on the team next year, he's going to be that 5th starter. If everyone comes out of camp healthy, then that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to quickly read this question from Rob Lastings. He said, how goes it, guys? The days are winding down. Looks like we can't lose very many games at this point. True test for our returning pitchers. The true test is our returning starting pitchers, is what he's saying. I think he means down the road if they can give us solid starts. And like I said, I think Nolasco's last 2 starts were solid.
Yeah, 6 and 5 innings respectively.
I'll take that. Two runs. I think he left the game when we were down 2-1 in one game, and then
the game that he has a loss on, the Houston one on September 14th. That was he left with 2 runs, and then the final score ended up being 5-2. So again, that kind of comes back to what you were saying earlier with the offense is that you can put out a great pitcher out there, but if they're not scoring any runs, it's going to be hard for the guys to get W's.
Right. He also asked Escobar coming back at all this season.
The most recent news on Escobar is that he is going down to the instructional league down in Arizona, I believe this weekend. As far as the timetable when he can come back with the team, they didn't say. I mean, there's only a week left, so you're hoping he gets some at bats down there. If he doesn't have a flare up, personally, they haven't said anything one way or the other. But personally, I can see him coming probably midweek, mid to late next week, and possibly the last series. But so he's going to go down there to Arizona this weekend and hopefully be able to hit in games again. Not the caliber that you would hope him, but with all the minor league systems being done now, that's the best he can do.
Yeah, and I don't know how much of an impact he'll have on the lineup, or if the Angels are going to want to see if he can do something more productive than Luis at third base, or are they going to switch Luis with Escobar? I don't expect much from him returning. He's been gone for a good month and a half, almost 2 months now.
Yeah, and 2, he's going to be a free agent after the end of this year, so he has to think for himself in the way that if it's something that can get aggravated and get worse, he might want to take himself back a little bit just to make sure he doesn't do something more serious with it.
Right.
So there's always that aspect of it where he is going to have his best interest in heart because he is coming up on a free agent year.
Right. And since we're on this topic of pitching, we had a email to us from Jeffrey Johnson, our good friend of the show and at Halo Haven. He has 2 questions, but I'll read the second question because the first question we'll get to later. He said, my second question is, in your opinions, why do Angels pitchers struggle so frequently to finish the off batters? We see plenty of 0-2 or 2-strike counts and plenty more 2-out innings that pitchers just can't get it done, and things implode and momentum is shot. I don't feel like this was as big of an issue half of the season, but now almost every type game thing. I risk a heart attack. What do you guys think is going on? We talked about that with Garrett Richards, where it was like he kind of gets too cute with 2 strikes.
Right.
What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, it's hard because everyone's looking at it now the last probably week and a half, 2 weeks. So everyone kind of has that recency bias with it. But I know his thing was with 2 strikes, but I looked it up. Runners with in scoring position in general, oh, no, that's the wrong one. No, but no, I just feel it's a lot of recency bias that people are looking at the now, and they aren't coming up. The Angels are not coming up with base hits and with runners good scoring position. So then when another team does it, it's like, well, why can't we? You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like, I'm not a pitcher. I don't know the ins and outs, how they're calling the game. I don't know if they're tipping pitches, or if their sequences are so uniform that they know what's coming up when it's 2-2 or
Right.
1-2 or something like that. So it is a frustrating thing as a fan to see, like, okay, you should be able to put them away. But kind of what you're saying, Richard. Besides Richard, they really don't have a put away pitcher where you know he's coming out with this pitch and is going to be able to put him away. You know, you kind of hope for a weak ground ball or easy pop fly more than anything.
And
else.
I think the whole 0-2 thing, you see a lot more with a guy like Cam Bedrosian, who still doesn't, I still believe, doesn't trust his stuff all the way yet. And a guy like Bud Norris who's struggling because he gets ahead of you in 0-2. I think a guy like Bud who's been struggling starts to think in his head, I don't want to throw the same pitch again because he's going to know I'm throwing it.
Right.
I can't really get into their heads. I was a pitcher. You know, I was always said attack low in the zone and hope for a ground ball. But it's a whole nother level. It's
it's one thing when you like throw it low, and then you might want to try to throw it low. But if a lot of these batters now, again, going back to what I was saying earlier with the home run rate, what it is, you miss by a little bit and it creeps up a little bit in that strike zone. That's exactly where they want it, because a lot of these guys now have that uppercut swing to it, and then you put it anywhere above where the knees are, maybe a little bit more, and it's gone. It's like, I think that's probably might be one of some of Nolasco's issues, is that he's maybe trying to throw the low ball and his mechanics, you know, kind of get out of whack a little bit, and now it's creeping up a little bit, and with that uppercut swing, you know, a lot of times it's going to carry over the fence.
Right, and I'll read this question from Duncan. We already touched on it, but he said, "Afternoon, guys. So when the Twins finally do lose, we end up playing the Indians. Come on, how impressed are you guys with Nolasco's last 2 starts? Not that bad. Any word on Heaney?" So we touched on the Nolasco thing. Any word on Heaney?
Yeah, Heaney actually threw a bullpen yesterday. He was encouraged by it. So were the Angels. You know, they're playing it very close to the chest as far as possible return dates. Personally, he's only going to be able to make 1 start if that, just because of the time running out. They're skipping the start Saturday. Saturday would be his normal day come up in the rotation, but Bud is starting that for a bullpen game. So with that being said, maybe he gets 1 more start in if everything goes well. But you know, the Angels kind of set up their lineup already where Richards is going to pitch tomorrow, which means it sets up perfectly for them if they do go to that wild card game, or they do go to a 1-game playoff. Richards will be that pitcher.
And that answers a question that I think that a lot of Angel fans have. Like, what if we do make it to that wild card game? Who's throwing? Mm-hmm. And I've been impressed with Richards' last couple of starts. Just simply by the fact that he's loose out there. He doesn't look like he's gonna get hurt. Like, you know, like I would always look at him out there and I'm like, man, I'm just waiting for him to get hurt. It just seems he seems a lot free. He's got a lot of velocity on his fastball. That slider is biting hard. He's only 4 starts in too, so it's not like you can really just say, oh, he's back. But I like what I see so far from Garrett Richards. I know we were talking too. Maybe Bridwell might have gotten the start. It looks like Bridwell's hit a little bit of a wall. Not too bad.
No, but it's kind of like what we were talking about last week when we were talking about the relievers and we were talking about Keegan hitting a wall. These guys are rookies, you know, and they're pitching a lot more innings than big league innings than they were coming into the year probably anticipated doing. You know what I mean? So that's the wear and tear on you. And then 2, I think just the team as a whole, and I don't buy when players, I don't care what sports, say they're not scoreboard watching. It's hard not to when there's a big scoreboard out in right center field, and you come out and you see the Twins lost, and now maybe you're pressing a little bit because now you see the opportunity to gain a game on them. You're maybe trying a little hard. You're swinging a little too hard. You're throwing the ball gripping the ball a little too hard. So, you know, it could be just the moment's kind of big for the kid. You won't know that. Maybe he learns from it. But, you know, today's outing wasn't terrible. He did give up that home run to Lindor like we're talking about. But other than that, it wasn't a bad outing at all.
Yeah. And, God, I just go back to, you know, you look at the starting rotation. J.C. Ramirez is out for the year. Shoemaker's out for the year. Richards just came back. Skaggs just came back. Heaney just came back. He's out again. Right. You know, Tropiano's been out all season. I can only really just hope for the future and think if these guys can all stay healthy, you add another guy in there maybe through free agency or a trade, and we got a solid rotation.
Yeah, and the injury with Skaggs and Richards, I think, put the Angels back
big time.
Yeah, like a year, because I think coming into this year, a lot of people were looking to see how Richards and see how Skaggs Skaggs coming off of the Tommy John and Richards missing the end of last year with the elbow injury that he ended up not taking Tommy John on. He ended up doing the whole stem cell
Right.
regeneration thing.
Right.
So I think coming into this year, a lot of the Angels people and fans were looking to evaluate those guys in a whole year and see if they need to get rid of them, can they trade them, evaluate where they're at. But with them missing so much time, it almost puts them back a year. Now you hope next year they can stay healthy. Same with Haney and Trope and Shu, to give you a year to. Because you're right, if these guys kind of pan out how we would hope, then you have a solid starting rotation. If they don't, then you gotta start making moves. But you're not gonna know that until you get about a year and a half under your belt of consistent pitching, making 28, 31 starts around there. I think that's what the Angels are hoping for next year.
Yeah, and going into next season, I got high hopes. I'm like, okay, these guys can stay healthy. We'll be okay. Let's touch on one thing it's pretty big news, I guess. What is going on with Mike Trout? I know that people want to know.
He's going on a little slump. In the last 25 games, batting just .233 with 3 home runs and 7 RBIs. But his on-base percentage is over .400. So, I mean, part of it, I'm guessing, he's being patient at the plate. He's still walking. He's still getting on base. But the power numbers aren't there. The RBIs, home runs aren't there. Batting average isn't there. I don't know if he's injured, but again, like I was saying earlier, I don't know if he's pressing too much, seeing that, Minnesota lost earlier in the day because they were on the East Coast for the whole week. So by the time you kick off your game, they're able to look up and say, oh, Minnesota's down 4 runs in the ninth. Okay, cool. They're probably going to lose now. Are you trying too hard, or does he feel pressure to put the team on his back and make a performance? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of things going on. He could be injured. You might not want to say it. The team might not want to say it. But it is uncharacteristic of him to be, in this kind of slump this long.
Yeah, because when we expected him to slump was when he got back from the
DL. He started out like
and
a house on fire.
He was just a ball on fire, and now he's slowing down what makes it a little worse for everybody too is like he's doing it in situations where we need him to get a hit.
Right.
And we almost expect him to do it all the time. Like he's going to come through. It's Mike Trout. And then, he grounds out or he pops up. He's been popping up a lot.
He's
pressing.
I think he's pressing too, because a lot of times you'll see the like last night, I went to the game and there was a hanging curveball where it's right where you would want it for him to swing. He just got underneath it, popped it up. It was an easy pop fly to shallow center. But stuff like that where I think he might be pressing a little too much. Now, on some balls, and this is where baseball gets kind of weird, where you can't exactly trust the stats. He's hitting the ball really hard. There was a game or a bat last night where he smoked it down the third base line, and the guy just made a great play. He stuck his glove out there. Otherwise, that thing's rolling down the corner. He gets a double easy. So I don't feel so worried about his slump because I don't feel like he's necessarily missing or guessing or, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like it's nothing that can't get worked out because. He's still, like I say, he's still getting on base. He's already stole 6 bases. He struck out 7 times, but he's always kind of been that strikeout guy. But it's still not bad over 17 games, so it's, one every other game.
I think not just Mike Trout, all season long, you've had guys like Cole Calhoun and Luis Valbuena who are their batting average is low, but they've hit the ball hard all year long, and it just seems like they've been unlucky. For Luis and for Cole, it's kind of extended throughout the whole year. As for with Mike, it's been the last 2 weeks.
Right.
Quickly want to say what's up to the people on Instagram Live who are watching us. I know Chris Curator Johnson went live right now. But, yeah, Mike Trout, I'm not overly concerned about. Do I want him to start getting hot? Yeah, because we need him to start getting hot again.
He got a multi-hit game today.
Yeah.
So, it could be something as easy as just a timing issue. And once you work that timing issue out, he could go. And that's the great thing about him. He could be slipping for, 2-3 weeks. But before you blink, he could have a week or a series that's unbelievable. He can have a 4-game series and he can hit 3 home runs and drive in, 7, whatever.
Right.
So, it's not unheard of for him to get out of it that quick. So, you kind of hope it comes now because the Angels don't have that many more games to kind of mess around with now with the Twins schedule getting that much easier.
Yeah, the Twins schedule, I think they're done with their hard teams now, right?
No, they have 3 with Cleveland.
Oh, they got 3 with
They
Cleveland.
got 4. They started a series today with Detroit, which Detroit's
Yeah.
the worst team since I think the All-Star break because they sold off everybody. They have 4 there. They're off Monday. 3 with Cleveland, and then 3, I believe, with Detroit again to end the year. So, again, you gotta hope at this point that Detroit somehow puts up a fight and maybe gets out of those 7 games or 6 games now, gets at least 3 wins, 2 wins, and then you gotta hope Cleveland sweeps Minnesota and the Angels can go on some kind of run.
Yeah, like now would be the time to really start. I mean, it's been all month, but now that we're 2.5 games back, with Minnesota playing Cleveland, that's when we really need to kind of. But then we're playing Houston again, right?
Yeah, Houston is this weekend. So tomorrow, tonight's Thursday. We're recording on Thursday night. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is going to be at Houston.
Yeah.
And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week is going to be in Chicago. And then Friday they come home for the last 3 games of the year against Seattle, which again, Seattle isn't necessarily super close, but they're not exactly out of it either.
You're right.
So depending on how their schedule goes, they could be playing for something important too. So you never know. Seattle's got Cleveland coming up, so that can knock them out. But still, it's an interdivision rivalry, and I'm sure for as much as Seattle might not make the playoffs, if they beat the Angels, 2 out of 3, they would like to know that they kept them out as well. So.
Yeah. Look, guys. I mean, we sound like broken records here, but we need other teams to help us. The Yankees did their part.
Yeah.
We just need to do our part now. We need to win games, and like it all boils down to we're a 500 team, and everything needs to click. Like all cylinders on. Like they got to be going for us to win games, especially now down the stretch. This actually proves or shows what this team is made of. And we were able to win games here. And look, if we're able to win out or just win, I don't know how many games we got left. 10.
We have 3. Like 10.
10 games. So if we go 8-2, and we still don't make it, at least it shows some character in this team that hey, we finished hard down the stretch. I hate to sound like that, but I know there's a bunch of questions going on Instagram Live right now. I can't really see them all, but one of them was like, do we still have a chance? I don't know who said that, but 10 games left, do we still have a chance?
We have a chance. I mean, until you're mathematically eliminated, I guess you technically have a chance.
But realistically,
like I said last week, if you were asking me to put my, rent or my mortgage on it, I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So, it sucks. But again, as a fan coming into the season, and we've had the conversation, I was looking for them to compete, and they're competing. Yeah, it's around 500, but they're competing, and they're making the last week at least watchable and interesting. So I guess as a fan, that's all I can ask for. I'm never going to sit here and demand they need to make a playoff run or they need to make World Series or bust kind of deal. Like you make it interesting. You make it where I want to go to a game because the games mean something.
Right.
As a fan, that's all I'm asking for is make it interesting. Make it that we have something to play for and makes me want to go to the game. Everything else will kind of play out and take care of itself.
Yeah, I mean, guys, I don't want to make excuses. Because I'm seeing a lot of the comments on Instagram Live where it's like, it looks like the team's running out of steam. I can only hope to have one final win to make the playoffs happen again. That's from DJ Valdez, 06. I mean, are they playing burnt out? I don't. Dude, they're overachieving in my book.
I think they're overachieving too. And honestly,
you got to remember that.
Well, you talked about it too with all the late game comebacks and stuff like that.
It's gonna wear
you out. I mean, there's only so much of those. Like you don't see really good teams. Like there's a great feeling you get from coming back from 3, coming back from 4. Don't get me wrong, but when it becomes a habit and you have to do it, twice, 3 times a week, that can wear you out. And that just also shows that, you're not as good as maybe your record says you are. Maybe you got a couple of lucky bounces here, a couple of lucky bounces there, and you're going to come back. But good teams, when they get up, they put you away, or they get up quickly, they keep you down.
Yeah.
It seems like with the Angels, especially today, first inning, boom, 1 run. But then they turn right back around and give up, a couple runs. So, I think, like you said, I think they're overachieving this year. I think what they're able to do with what they have is way overachieving.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would love to make a wild card run at it, but the Angels don't have a wild card caliber team, in my opinion.
Yeah, Yeah, they're overachieving. You've got to remember. I feel like I'm repeating myself over all the time, but it is what it is. The Angels lost Mike Trout for 6 weeks in the middle of the summer, when that's like the dog days of summer, and they kind of stayed relevant. They didn't. I think they were, again, like maybe a 500 team, maybe slightly over 500, but they had guys who stepped up. Um, it's just we're overachieving to a point where look at all the injuries we had this season. I don't want to make excuses, but you got to think about it that way, and you can't expect this team to win every single game. It's just, it is what it is. It's frustrating when we lose a game when we should have won the game, or we're up by 3 and the team came back on us. That's always frustrating, but it goes back to like what you said. Pitching staff gives up 3-4 runs after we scored 4 runs, and it takes its toll not only just on the team mentally but physically. Pitchers have to come in early, bullpen games, guys having to have to step up. I think the Angels are overachieving in my book.
Yeah.
And that's plain and simple, man. Moving forward from that, do you want to get into the poll question?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of going back to last week. We talked about it last week with what was that pitcher's name? Fierce or Fairs?
Fires.
Throwing at Luis, and then you also had the
F that guy.
Yeah, the controversy with the Red Sox, and the Yankees about them trading signs through digital means, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes down to unwritten rules, because the idea of stealing signs isn't illegal. It's just kind of like you don't do it because it's not good sportsmanship, and you throw at a guy that throws at your guy. It's not a rule, but everyone kind of is expected to maintain it. So the question with this week was, unwritten rules, and the options were love them, hate them, or just don't understand them. And 65% said love them, 26% said don't understand them, and then 9% hated them. So that's how it broke down. It's kind of where I was expecting it, that more people love them than not, because people like stuff. I mean, it's been around for so long. A lot of people don't like change. So the idea of changing something like that, like, no, it's good. It's the way it should be. So I kind of figured it would stay the way it was.
I lean towards I don't understand them. It's not that I don't understand them. I understand what it is.
They are, yeah, same thing.
But I don't understand, like,
how you pick and choose when to enforce and when not.
Right.
Or who gets that ultimate decision.
Yeah, one of my favorite sports broadcaster, not even radio personality, is Travis Rogers. He used to be on AM 830 Angels Radio, and I think he's on ESPN now. But he always used to talk about on his show, he doesn't like the guys who think they have to take. They're like the officers of the laws of baseball. One of them was Brian McCann.
Yep.
He hated him, like, and it's, again, why is it okay for your guy to? Because there was a game where one of his guys flipped his bat,
right,
and it was okay, but the other guy flipped his bat on their team, and then when he crossed the plate, it was a problem. I just don't understand the whole. Hey, look, I was a pitcher. I pitched in college. If I give up a home run, and I didn't want, like you said last week, if someone bat flips on me, I'm not giving up a home run. It's plain and simple. I'm striking the guy out.
Right.
Don't get a home run hit off you. Stuff like that, I don't understand why. It's just annoying to me at that point. Now, your guy gets hit by a pitch and you want to hit him back. I understand it, but then I also don't. It's frustrating to me. I don't.
Right.
I can go without him.
Right, and that's kind of what I was in the same boat as you, because why is it perfectly okay for a pitcher, 2 outs, bases loaded, down by 1, strikes out the number 4 hitter, gives a fist pump, yells in the air, and super hyped up coming off the mound and running around? That's cool. You can show up the batter that way. But if a guy hits a home run and it's, makes it 4-4 in the bottom of the 9th, he does a little bat flip or whatever, takes his time running around the bases. Why is that not okay? Because they say the same thing where you're showing the pitcher.
Right.
The pitcher turns around and does the same thing to the batter. But in the American League, especially in the American League, the pitcher don't got to worry about that, because he ain't going up there. He's not going to go up in the batter's box and face that,
The best hitter on the team is going to have to end up.
Exactly. So that's part of, like, okay, so if I'm Mike Trout and whatever, Middleton gets super hyped after a strikeout, now why am I Mike Trout have to worry about some dude throwing at my hip or throwing at my head or whatever? Like, to me, it's just something that, like, okay, cool, you guys had these rules back in the 1930s and 1940s, and that made sense back then. But now it's like, do you really need to show some emotion? Emotion's not the worst thing in the world, and I think a lot of old school fans think that it should be kind of straight and narrow, no emotion, and do what they're supposed to do. It's like, well, sometimes you want to show emotion. Sometimes that's what the occasion calls for.
Well, we talked about it last week, and you mentioned it. It's like baseball kind of needs that infusion, like
of youth and of excitement.
Yeah,
and
people call it boring.
Emotion.
I'm a boring guy, I guess, because I like 1-0 games.
Right.
I like pitching duels, but then you're trying to reach an audience of younger kids who are used to like the flashy, the music of today, where it's a lot of dancing, and then you're talking about like, a lot of flashiness, a lot of pizzazz. The basketball players, football. You see football players.
They score a touchdown.
Touchdown dance.
They dance.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about the next time they come out.
Yeah.
Some dude aiming at his head and trying to take it off.
Same thing with basketball. Someone hits a three, boom, they throw something up. Baseball, you hit a home run, you bat flip, you might get thrown at your head the next at bat.
Right.
To me, it doesn't make sense. Chris, I know last week you said you liked it. What's your take on this?
I think by hitting someone, you're showing some emotion, and I'm all down to throw at people. I get the bat flip thing. I actually kind of like the bat flip.
Okay. So you're not all the way bland.
No, I understand what you're saying. I don't want the blandness. I think by hitting people and doing all that, putting your spikes up, taking out the runner at second baseman, I think that's actually showing some emotion.
Well, that's different. I think that's different. That's trying to break up a double play, and that is in the game process. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think throwing a ball at a dude's head, it makes a whole bunch of sense, because A, now you're trying to hurt a dude, but B, you're putting your team now at a disadvantage because now there's a runner on first.
We're getting a lot of comments on this topic. Pretty
Nice.
hot topic. On Instagram Live, we have TES Crow 619. You got to show some emotion. I used to love the emotion pictures like Jake Peavy or even Weaver used to show.
Weaver was.
It excites the game. We
And
got
the crowd too. When you're there live and you see a guy fist
Pumps you
pump, hell yeah, you're all in it.
Yeah, we also got same person saying nothing wrong with bat flips in a big situation. I just watched a video of that epic bat flip. You know what I'm talking about? That Jose Bautista. I'm sorry, I watched that game and that was
the best
pretty
time
awesome.
Yeah.
So we're getting a lot in on that that topic, and I'm down with that bat flip. And you guys, I think. Daniel, you actually tagged us in that video of that little kid with the wiffle ball bat doing the most epic bat flip ever.
Like that, it does nothing to the. I mean, you hit a home run, so technically you're doing nothing to the other team. You're doing nothing but positive stuff for your team. You hit a home run, 2-run, 3-run home, whatever. But show that emotion, show that flair, show that personality. Major League Baseball has a big issue right now with no personalities. I mean, for as much as Harper is like a 50-50 player. 50% of people love him, 50% hate him. But at least you can go into a household and probably say who this guy is.
Yeah.
And majority of the time, they're going to have an opinion. Whether it's good or bad, it doesn't matter. As long as you know who the player is.
Right.
You know what I mean? And you go with that with some of the other ones, like the Altuves, the Correas, the Trouts, some of the other players. You don't really know who these guys are because they don't show a whole lot of emotion either during a game or in a post-game press conference or anything like that. I think baseball could use a little spice, a little emotional outburst every once in a while to help out.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm totally for the bat flipping and the fist pumping and all that good stuff because baseball needs emotion, and I say we're. I'm a baseball fan. What can I say? Totally behind. Like it's football. It's football, basketball, baseball.
Right.
Is what it is, and baseball needs that shot.
And a lot of it too
energy.
is and I think even now basketball is creeping up on football just because now the players are so much more marketable because you see them.
There's some pop culture.
You
They're
see them
just
every
part
day.
of-
They're in these commercials. I mean, you can't turn a TV on without a basketball player being in some kind of like a Foot Locker commercial or
The shoes. I mean,
the shoes is a
alone.
big thing. I mean, that's one thing with baseball. I mean, you can't really market. I mean, you can market a cleat, but unless you're playing baseball, you're not going to see a kid in the 5th grade walk into his school wearing Mike Trout cleats, So that's part of the deal. So they got to figure out whether it's, and again, going back to like the players weekend, the colorful bats, the colorful socks, like that stuff you can market. That stuff, every kid out there is going to want a bat that looks like, Trouts or looks like Correas or looks like Harpers or socks, I think them making a partnership with Stance helps out a lot too.
Oh, without a doubt.
Because the socks now, the whole fashion thing, you can make a whole statement with the socks alone, and with the baseball MLB giving a partnership with Stance, I think that's going to help out too. But you always need more. You always need more. You always need to get younger. Because your demographic is going to get older, and it has been getting older. You need somehow to get younger players in, or younger fans in, to become younger players, and they won't necessarily go towards playing basketball when it's high school time and they trying to figure out what they want to do.
Right. So, all right. I'm going to read this other question that was sent in to the All Angels podcast. It's allangelspodcast@gmail.com. It's from Patrick Woleski. Really happy to see both Twins and Angels competing for a wild card spot and excited about the future for both teams. But as a Twins fan, this is an All Angels podcast, by the way. Just messing with you, dude. If we do win the wild card, do we have any chance of beating the Yankees? Also, how hard will you guys be rooting against the Dodgers? In my honest opinion, you guys had 3 games against the Yankees, 3 or 4 games against the Yankees, right?
Yeah.
And they took, I mean, look, I don't know what your guys' season series, I could just go by what I saw in this last week, and I think the Yankees, I don't think the Angels have a solid chance against the Yankees. I think the Angels and Twins are playing just to get in,
right,
just to see what we can do. That wild card game, I don't know. The Yankees to me are obviously a better team.
Yeah, I think the Yankees too are trying to find their group, because they went on a little slump for a little while too, but I think they're coming out of it.
They're a little more consistent.
Their back end of their bullpen is awesome with Chapman getting back into the closer role and being able to shut it down.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and he's done it before.
He's been in the World Series last year.
Yeah.
So I think whoever the Yankees play in that wild card, whether it be the Twins, Angels, or now Texas, because Texas is creeping back up, New York has to be the favorite by far, because they're able to now, being as far up as they are. I think they're about like 4 games up in the wild card. They're able now, hopefully next week, to keep the set rotation up.
Yeah.
Again, Angels, Rangers, and the Twins are going to have to play their guys all the way through. They can't afford, and I think you saw that a lot today, a day game after a night game. Usually you'll see guys, and you saw that with Cleveland. They rested about 4 or 5 of their main starters because they clinched. There's nothing really them to play for. Angels, on the other hand, where they're still trying to compete, their whole starting lineup, Pujols playing after a day game after a night game, you don't see that very often. Maldonado playing after a night game, you don't see that very often. So I think they're able now to kind of set up their lineup how they want it, and be able to obviously set up their pitching rotation.
Yeah, and the good thing with the Yankees, like you said, is for them, they're 4 games up. They can afford to give their ace starter a day off and set him up for that game.
Well, that's the same thing that happened with Cleveland today. This week, that they gave their number 1, number 2 starters. They pushed them back a start. They pushed them back a start. They skipped the rotation. So, and that's why the Angels really need to take advantage of it, because you didn't face the Kluber, who's probably more likely going to win the Cy Young. It'll be him and Sale. So, he's definitely going to be first or second in the Cy Young. You skip him, you miss him. You miss their number 2 starters also, and you're still not able to at least get 1 win. So that, I think, hurts the Angels more than anything.
And as far as how hard are you guys rooting against the Dodgers, it's funny. I'm not a Dodger hater per se. They're irrelevant. I don't care whether they win or lose.
Yeah,
I really don't care. I mean, I guess that's the most honest answer I can give you, Patrick, is they win, oh, okay, they lose, oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not the same way. I'm not too worried about, I guess I'm more looking for the story aspect of it. Like last year, Cleveland and the Cubs, that was a great baseball story. Both teams having these super long droughts. They both get in the World Series. You knew one of them was going to break it. So I think that was awesome. So I guess same thing with this year. If the Dodgers make it, and they make it against Cleveland, I think it's going to be a good series, because both teams haven't won. Well, Cleveland hasn't won ever, I don't think, and then the Dodgers haven't won since the early 80s, or late 80s. So I think that helps a lot with baseball. Just get teams out there that story-wise can make it interesting.
Yeah, so again, with the Dodgers situation, we're having a little bit of technical issues here, but I don't know if you can reach that. It's hanging there. I don't know. Nope. Can you stretch that chair out over there? Anyway, so I'm gonna ask this was one of the questions from a 2-part question from Jeffrey Johnson. I guess really, I'm glad Chris is in here because he can answer this a little bit better than I can, or you mean you, Daniel. Hey guys, hope y'all had a great week. I just was wondering if you had any anticipated plans for Halo Haven in the off season.
Just try to make it more. As far as Halo Haven, like the podcast, or like well.
I think in general. I mean, as far as a podcast, I think we've talked about it. We're gonna try to go once a month. Because I mean,
in the off season, yeah, in the off season.
In the off season, we'll do once a month, and during the season, obviously once a week. But as far as Halo Haven, I don't know what you.
Oh man, good question, Jeffrey. We have always spinning our wheels when it comes to Angel stuff. There's a quote, I think it's like Honus Wagner says something, what do you do in the off season? And he said something like, I just stare out the window waiting for baseball season to return.
Yeah.
That's kind of the attitude we have here. Always looking to improve, not just for ourselves, but for the sake of Angels fans, and providing some type of resource by fans, for fans. And I mean, I think last week we talked about an idea about doing a wiffle ball tournament. Hopefully getting the Angels rally bus going. This is season 2 that it's been sitting on the side of the house next to Halo Haven. So that's part of it. Improving the podcast, top priority. We started this year, but we have a lot in store. A lot of procuring some interviews, talking with some past players.